All right. Call the meeting to order. Mr. Kenny, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Hey, roll call, please.
All right, we are missing two of our board members at the moment. I just spoke with Mr. Salvia. He's regretfully not able to attend, and we're expecting Mr. Howe shortly.
We still have a quorum though, so.
Yeah.
Okay. I have nothing to add to the agenda. Anybody else have anything they feel they need to put on the agenda? All right, and can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I would move to accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick.
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mrs. Lewis,
Yes. Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, the next item is the consent agenda approval. Motion.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support Lewis.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Mrs. Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Mr. Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up a couple of points inside the consent agenda approval. We got some new appointment to the planning commission that's in there. Guy York, he's going to be replacing Eugene Beach, and who's decided to retire. And we also are reappointing Anthony Raimondo, who is with us tonight. Scott Green and Pete Eichinger to the ZBA term ending 1/1/26. So Anthony, thank you, and the other guys that we usually don't require people to come, but you know, we really appreciate the service, and I think the team that the ZBA team has been doing a really good job, and everybody that I talked to on it kind of says the same thing. They like it. They're all get together and kind of gel as a mission like that. It's a good thing. So it's been positive for the community. So thanks again for your service, and appreciate it very much. Okay. All right, announcements and information. The Highland Township offices will be closed Friday, December 23rd, and Monday, December 26th for Christmas holiday, and also Friday, December 30th for New Year's holiday. And the next item was the retirement of Eugene Beach from the Planning Commission. I had hoped he kind of said he wanted to do his last meeting in the new town hall, but he at the last Planning Commission meeting, he made the decision he would retire then to allow the new commissioner to start in the new town hall. He started in 1982. He took over the seat of his uncle, Sidney Beach, who had passed away in March of that year. So that's 40 years. Still can't beat Roscoe. Roscoe's got him on that one, but that's a long time to serve the community. And I think it's a good thing to have somebody like him on there who was sometimes never knew how he's going to go, but he always had a way to be able to pull the answers out of the planning commissioners when they needed to. And really appreciate the long service for this. 40 years. It's hard to believe. I still can't believe that many years has passed. Many people don't realize Eugene Beach and I are actually, I'm a little bit older than he is by a few months.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of, so I've known him since, actually since he's probably about 13 or 14 years old. He grew up in Maryland. And when I worked for Sydney Beach at Beach Tree Farm, is when I met Eugene. He used to come for the summers and then he'd do some work there. And when Sydney bought his childhood home, which is on where Eugene lives now, Eugene decided he would move to Michigan, and he bought the house. So he's living in a family homestead. So that was actually originally built by the Beach family. Cool. And it was reintroduced after the Knight family sold it back to Sydney. So I don't know if Eugene's on here or not, but if he is, thank you, Eugene. We're going to wait till we get in the new building to, I want to do something special for you at that point in time. So you get some, we'll make it worth your while. So, all right. So any public comment at this time? Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment too about Eugene Beach, being on the planning commission with him for about 8 years. And I just appreciated him so much. He always had an answer for everything and he was a wealth of knowledge. I just would sit and wonder how on earth he could remember all the facts that he remembers. So yeah, he was great. And I think he's always been an instrumental figure in Highland, and everybody that knew him really appreciated his involvement.
Nice.
Thank you.
I have a public comment. The financial report is in the receive and file, but in front of you, I gave you what we started in the beginning of 2022, 24 plus million, and what we've ended in 2022 as of December 12th will be 14 million. So we do still have, and those are the different funds that have that amount in them, just for a little more clarity in the report. Chief.
Yes.
Just real quick, also about Eugene, when we first started the design phase of Fire Station 1 and 2, we engaged Eugene and Roscoe in design aspects, and I'm very proud of what we've constructed, both Fire Station 1 and Fire Station 2. They fit in with the community. We've engaged some history and everything else, and we couldn't have done it without them. So I just appreciate Eugene and Roscoe. That's all I can say.
Nice. Very nice.
All right. Any other public comment? Anthony?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to get some clarification. At the last Township Board meeting, there was a recommendation for a special meeting to discuss the future of the Township Fire Chief. So just kind of going back on the minutes that you just approved from that meeting. I see there's two gentlemen sitting here, and just for clarification, what is going on?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to address that. What we're doing is, at the last meeting, I said we would consult with our attorney, and then we also would get together and put together a plan to move forward. So right now there's a tentative plan, but there's some things that need to be, details that need to be worked out that relate to some union, I won't call them issues, but kind of an issue that would become a byproduct of the plan. And at this time, we have I think we've got a positive way forward, and until probably it'll be January, we'll have the resolutions and a statement as to what we're actually going to be accomplishing. So I know that I think the firefighters have been included on the conversation. At this point, it's it's not something we want to put out in the public because it's nothing negative. I think it's a more positive than anything else. So but yes, we are moving forward with it, and that's where we're at right now. So
And then just on a sadder note, did recognize that a former township attorney had passed away.
former attorney,
Or fire chief.
who's that? Did I miss something?
Gary Dovry passed away.
What?
He did?
I didn't.
Sorry, I didn't know you didn't know.
No, I did not know that.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Holy smokes.
Last
Aw.
week.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, sad news to get at a board meeting.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
Can I
Well-
make a comment about the fire chief? Because there is in the packet, there's an administrative transition plan.
yeah.
So in our packet, there is a document for this meeting that shows what we're tentatively planning on doing.
Under new business?
It's on the consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Sorry, that is awful. You just retired.
I know.
Let's see if I can bring that up to kind of show you what it looks like.
It's page 103.
Okay. Search, there we go. 103. That didn't do it.
Oh, mine says 103. I don't know.
This too.
Was mine.
Ah, from memory.
Let's just pull up the first one we're sharing.
What's that?
Do you have any bookmarks?
Yeah, the way I've got this thing set up right now, it's not, oh, it's working. I've got it in here. Let me find it here, page. I don't know why it's not working that way.
The transition date.
Well, anyways, in there is the basic plan.
Yeah.
Digital technology has us baffled. Page, what'd you say, 103?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get there. Getting close. 10,
There it is.
there it is right there.
So pretty tough to read, could you just highlight what the transition plan was though?
Yeah, I can go that for it, through that for you. So the first component is the details. So there's transition team is comprised of Fire Chief Ken Chapman and Nicholas George, Fire Captain. So there's a role accountability expectations. There's a list of review all duties, responsibilities of the fire chief role, familiarize operations of all required electronic platforms, transition of all role changes, including electronic administrative positions, and passwords, email identifiers, hands-on budget preparation and future planning. And then informational transfer and explanation. Over the past 3 years, the department has experienced substantial change. We have changed our operational systems, adding full-time employees, been left with the responsibility ALS support, have experienced a substantial increase in call volume, have adapted and adjusted the effects of global pandemic. The department has been very successful because we established systems and processes for all aspects of daily operations and station life. However, the above identified changes, we have operated as a fluid entity, often having to change established systems and processes due to new needs and requirements. With this in mind, the transfer of operational knowledge and experience is key to supporting the continuity of operations. During this transition period, both employees will need to be cooperating with daily operations, coordinating all efforts. As the incoming chief, Captain George will assume an active role with decision-making and assisting in daily responsibilities. And then the transition model is negotiated deputy fire chief position with the IAFF. That's the union thing that I was talking about. Then appoint Nicholas George as the deputy chief effective January 1. Then adjust the operational structure for the 24-hour employees. So because these are union positions, you have to promote a shift commander, fire captain. There's a vacancy there left by Mr. George, and hire 4 full-time firefighters, including a vacancy left by Captain George's position. Review the role, accountability, and expectations, conduct the informational transfer and job training, and transition to fire chief role on June 30th, 2023. So that's the game plan, so to speak. That still has to be approved by the board, so. This is not an approval of this by the board. This is just informational because there's stuff that we still need to go through, attorneys, so on and so forth. Do you have any questions on that, or?
I was just curious why there was a sense of urgency at the November Township Board meeting to approve this quickly. And I think I'm surprised that it was, squeezed into the consent agenda without really having any public visibility or discussion about the transition. So I know it's really important to the folks in this building, and I know it's important to the residents as well. So.
Well, what you have to understand, Anthony, is that all of this information has been out since Thursday. It's been in the public. So we're not hiding it or that type of thing. So what happens is the board's not making a decision on this at this time. So this is just general information. So we're putting it into that. That spot anyways. So it's a receive and file. So it's not like we're trying to hide it. And then the other part was that part of what happened the last time was I was trying to get the board to discuss this. We'd been kind of letting this thing float along, and the way you have to discuss it is you got to get it at the table, and you really can't do discussion without putting a motion out there. If you're going to be moving forward with something like that. So that's also why I was willing to pull the motion, because I wanted that discussion. So we got a lot of discussion out of it the last meeting. And out of that came this type of a process. So what we looked at is we need to talk to our attorney. We need to have Chief Chapman be involved with Nick George, the captain, to be able to come up with a plan together. And it's something that needed to be addressed in a way that all of the firefighters understood the process. So there was some confusion prior to that meeting, even as to what the dates would be and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make sure that that all got cleared up and we could move forward with it. But so.
And with all due respect, Mr. Supervisor, at the last Township Board meeting, it wasn't even an agenda item to talk the transition.
Correct. I put it on there.
Right. So how can information be out to the public when it's game time and we're adding agenda items? I would just recommend to this board to stop that type of behavior. It's not transparent. It's not really allowing residents to view things online before meetings. It's just like, if you're not here, you're not online.
Thank you for your recommendation. Presentation.
All right. So we'll move on. Any more public comment? Okay, so next item is a presentation. Let me get to by the DDA director. This is required by state law for the Downtown Development Authority to produce 2 informational meetings that are public. This is one of the second public meeting. And so I'll introduce Missy Dashevich. She's the Downtown Development Authority Director.
Me, doubles in virtual. I know just about everybody here. As he said, this is a required meeting by the PA. I don't know if you can see me. Okay. By the PA 57 Act. I like to say that I don't mind giving the presentation because it's a chance for me to brag to everybody about what the Highland DDA does. It is to inform the public of the goals and direction of the authority, including projects to be undertaken in the coming year.
meeting is not for the purpose of voting of policy, budget, or other operational matters. Informational meetings may be held in conjunction with other public meetings, such as the township or the DDA, and we had a DDA earlier. So it is, you can go forward.
Sorry.
That's okay. Our mission statement is, I won't read it word for word, I'll spare you. We're comprised of residents, business owners, property, historic preservation. And we, of course, promote economic growth in the Highland Station and the surrounding business district. We do remain sensitive to the residents and the existing businesses. We implement our plans and advocate for improvements to the area. We seek volunteers and partner with various groups within the community. Next. As you've noticed, we're not a traditional downtown with the buildings all in a row. However, we feel that is a unique characteristic. And we build a modern hamlet filled with historic homes and vibrant small businesses. We also love our natural setting here in the state land, and it encourages an active lifestyle to appeal to many people. So we like to think that we are the oasis of the 59 busy corridor. Our goals is to improve the economic environment. That's what it's all about. We bring workshops designed for our businesses, continue to educate businesses of what is available to them, such as our trainings, grants, etc. Retail events, created there. That's one of Roscoe Smith's favorite sayings, to establish a place is what it means. We improve the awareness of our downtowns through events and festivals. We create a sense of community and belonging. And we are working on a gateway. So when people come to Highland, they know they're somewhere different. They know Highland is loved. We improve the appearance of downtown, continue streetscape improvements, wayfinding, signage, gateway. That's some of the projects coming up. Continue to be involved with our township, government, and other community organization, as we mentioned. Chill at the Mill, the Community Roundtable, Highland White Lake Business Association, Huron Valley Schools, Huron Valley UNED Project. One thing I didn't mention there, but I would like to mention is we're very active with the Oakland County Moving Forward program with business going forward. We have a business consultant here, he's an evaluator, and he helps with our businesses.
I want to say
We
something
do
about that.
this by building a volunteer base, as I had mentioned before. And I'm gonna stop boring you and start giving you. Okay, go ahead. All right, we're based, did you do that on purpose? To
No.
shorten my presentation. So we're comprised of 4 committees: design, economic vitality, organization, and promotions. There you go, volunteers. You know, that's where we recruit our volunteers to be on those committees, and we build them up. And we empower them, and we want them to be involved. And here's an example of us doing that, and it's a volunteer fair. We've had one in 2020, of course it got canceled. So our last one in attendance was 219. And this was catch up for the 2 years we missed. And we decided we're gonna skip every other year. Our volunteers, well, these are some of our volunteers. Now this is, you'll see some familiar faces in there. You'll see Judy Cooper and Jenny Fredericks. They are Judy and her crew, the Highland Garden Club. So that's an example of us being involved with organizations with the same purpose. They help beautify our downtown, and we start young with those beautiful Girl Scouts. Here they are. That's our board member, Cassie Blasek, and she's helping with the volunteers there, our Girl Scouts. And that whole weekend, including the garden club, we were planning, or they were planning bulbs. So, and you can see we had 1,050 bulbs for split between tulips and allium. Is it allium, Cassie? Allium, the big purple flower. And they were in our gardens and in the M59 median. Here's another example of our landscaping enhancement and maintenance. This is part of the design committee. The design committee is everything you see. So we started out our gardens as native, but we soon found out that native, they don't go crazy in the woods because they're controlled, but in perfect little gardens, they go crazy. So we took and devoted one garden to the native. To help maintain our gardens, another way to bring volunteers in is we have sponsor a garden or adopt a garden. And those are the names of the families that do that. Our banner program. We changed them out the year. Particularly, I like that one, the winter banner, because it's focusing on our old buildings, which is part of preservation. Because we are just bringing education to our public and saying, here, appreciate your buildings. And like that is our logo, Live Highland Shop Highland, that you'll see on there. This is another preservation movement. This was a project by Cassie Blasek, board member. And what that is those buildings you see, they're historical, they're original buildings. And you see what they look like today and what they look like back in the day. So it talks about who occupied it, etc. And there are brochures for that, a walking tour, just by the door. This is part of design again, is when I talked about a gateway, we were hoping to have an arch project. But last year, 2021, we found it was not feasible because of the drain pipe under the road. In the same location is the ideal location of where we would put our arch. And it would be safe to do so. So we had to switch gears. We have to be flexible. And that should bring us to our mural. So this is a great addition. You can see where we advertised for it here. And this is the mural. That's one gateway to our downtown. I'm sure all of you have seen it. This artist, Zachary Curtis, that's spray paint art. Special spray paint. So we're not encouraging people to go to 5-star and do this. But within the letters are scenes of Highland. And I'm not sure what resident parked his car in front of there. So
It was
it's a very
perfect.
nice picture. As I said, it's all about the businesses and economic vitality. This year, we offered video grants where they had, help me out here, Cassie, was it 30 seconds to a minute? Okay, and we were able to do 8 businesses. And we had someone that's very good with filming, and they filmed this little social media commercials, if you will, and it was on Facebook and other social media spots. We do, we're a facade grant matching and rental subsidy. So that's the advertisement for social media. Also part of economic vitality, I talked about the events. Now I realize that's a promo as well, it crosses over, but a lot of our projects do cross over in all of the 4 committees. This is Ladies' Night Out in the spring. The summer sidewalk sales. And of course, when we get to this time of year, right after Thanksgiving, the Shop Small Saturday. And this, people really look forward to this, the ladies and all. And people are lined outside out the doors. This is very successful for our businesses. Oh, here's another favorite. We have an open door communication with our businesses. We meet with them, the retailers, and they said, hey, we want ladies' night out on opening day of deer hunting season. So November 15th was Highland's Ladies' Night Out. It was very successful. There you go. That's odds and ends. Everybody knows where odds and ends is. And of course, we did have some local home businesses in our beautiful Highland Station house. There's Cassie, our board member, very active volunteer. And here's an example again of partnering with our organizations. Last year, we sponsored in 2021 the Unity Dollars, but it rolled out in the beginning of 2022 as well. I should say rolled out. People can purchase these for $5 but get a $10 face value, and it can only be used here in Highland DDA. Placemaking and promotions. So this is the farmers market. This year was the most successful year we've had. This is the fourth year. All right, just keeping me in line. So very successful. We had to move locations. We outgrew our old spot in front of Home Again Furniture. And this is over where Napa used to be. And the business owner allowed us to put our farmers market there. We bring entertainment in, as you can see there, every week. And special events there. Families really enjoy this. It's a good day. It's a good season. Again, concerts in the park. That was a Journey tribute band. And this little concert in the park started out, I attended once when there was 10 people, and look what it's grown into. So.
It's amazing what you can do with Photoshop. Just kidding.
Yeah, you better be. This is something new. It was probably the easiest thing we ever did. It was movies in the park. It was totally sponsored by Oakland County. And here is, we can't film at night. Sorry, we'd be tripping on people. But it was, this is very beginning, setting up. And it just cost us really the time and the marketing to put it out and make arrangements with Oakland County. It's called a POP grant. And people of all ages were there. So from 90 to probably baby. So it's great. And this is the time of year. This is the Festival of Trees. It has become a tradition. And again, that's part is establishing tradition such as this is what makes that's part of establishing a place and bringing people out to our downtown. This is new. We had the use of, as everyone knows, our township is in the old township hall, and they're working out of sheds. It has been turned into a Christmas village. So it was Kris Kringle Market. It was a huge success. And it was combined with archery lighting. Holiday photo spot. Again, all the light, there's different locations and people go and take pictures and post it on social media. And there's the tree lighting. That's this year. Very successful. Oh, and look who visits us every year. We get Santa. Again, that's a great volunteer. Very much loved. Oh, and there's some more familiar faces. That is from last year, if you can notice the masks. So our future plans are to continue the events we have established and those we have partnered with, such as Founder's Day Parade and Festival, Sounds Like Summer's Concert Series, Farmers Market, Downtown Contest, Annual Tree Lighting, and any other ideas that our board comes up with and wants to for us to share. For improvements and design, SOD and the Sign Grant Program will offer historic window restoration workshop. There are people out there that do live in historic homes. And we have held this probably, I want to say 8 years ago, and it was well attended. It was supposed to have taken place in 2020, but was one of the things that was canceled. We are looking into additional murals. The Gateway project, we're also looking into sculptures, because art is a big part of our downtown as well, and it's also in our mission and vision statements. And we're beginning phase 1 of the Wayfinder Sign project. Continue current banner programs. And we want to work with businesses, we've been doing this on and off, to create a wow factor with something to show everybody belongs, with matching planters and such. And with that being said, I failed to mention, as part of our banner program, there was some added on the south side of the road. Economic vitality, continue the open discussion with the retailers, continue the retail sales events, possibly adding more. We'll always be offering the educational classes to our businesses. And here we go, partnering with Oakland County with the Small Business Navigator program. Organization, again, organization, that's one thing I did not really focus on too. That is the committee that is like the human resources of the organization, keep the paperwork in line and policies, etc. Also maintain the website. And we hope to continue our volunteer base, and he's kicking me out. So we're good. All right, so that's the presentation for having that. Cassie Blossack is one of the board members who can stand up. And Jenny Frederick. Those two have done a lot. Yeah, so that being said, I will.
Nice job.
Good job, Missy.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is new business. Approval of special land use for wireless communications facility at Duck Lake Pines Park. We had Verizon Wireless came to me, last year. And wanted to know if there would be the possibility of being able to put a tower in the Duck Lake Pines Park, because we have I think everybody realizes Duck Lake Road is the dead zone for cell phones.
Yep.
And I think that it's a pretty sad statement of our communication systems when you've got a continuous dead drop zone still existing after. I mean, it's been this way for 10 years. And so this is an opportunity to help mitigate that. So, and I'll answer some questions for a couple that are in the audience here. So what happened is we sat down, looked at the park, and did try to put the cell tower to the north side of the park. But there's a couple of elements there that cause a lot of problems. One is you've got 160,000 volt power line that runs right next to it. In order to be out of the fall zone, you'd be in the parking lot. So there really wasn't a spot there where we could put the thing. And the other part is, it would have been, if there hadn't been the power lines, it would have been in a hole And they would have to build a taller tower in order to accomplish that. So there's a lot of other pieces and parts to it. So what the one spot was that was really a significant distance from the residential. I mean, it's a quarter, better than a quarter mile, pretty close to it anyways. From the residential units there to the west. And it was really the only spot that we could accomplish that. And being a park that was paid for by DNR grant money, or the MDNR grant money, we had to contact the MDNR to get approval to even put a tower there. And the other part was that if it did get put there, then all of the revenues had to go towards maintenance or development of the park. So it's really a good tool. If you think about it, for supply, you don't have to go out for a millage now to have resources on a continuous basis to be able to help cover the costs of operating that park. So anyways, it was put to the planning commission so they could take a look at it. They really didn't have any control over where the thing got put because there wasn't really too many options for to do so. There was questions that were brought up that related to the pathway, what happens to the pathway, if when they drive on it and crush it, and they'll be responsible for repairing it, but they still need to have a way to get in there. So I think at this point, rather than pushing on, what I want to do is I just want to leave an opportunity right now. If there's some, the public hearing was at the planning commission, but at this time, Missy and her husband are here. They're neighbors. Give you an opportunity to make a public comment if you want.
Well, the only comment is we're not against it. We don't compare with the park to begin with. We've been following from day one. Part of the agreement was to keep the southwest corner pristine as possible because all the neighbors. Putting a tower in there, we know the need for it. We know that the revenue will be good for the park. We would like to have you take in consideration some alternate locations. I'm aware of the power lines. I'm aware of the terrain. Proposal 1 on the map. My feeling that aspect was less intrusive to the park itself, easier access, winter, less disruption to people basically in the park during the summertime. So option 2, then I think 2 and 3 were kind of very back. And part of that was basically would be less intrusive as far as the height. The people in the neighborhood really wouldn't see that. People along Waterbury, retirement homes and such.
Page 130.
So the spot we're talking about, if you see that map, is right here. That's the proposed, and they're going to keep it as close to that pathway right there as possible, but it's in this area here. They're not going to clear every tree in that circle area there. They have 100, I think it's 100 by 100 spot that they have to work in. Some of the questions that had come up, about plants and, why is the surface inside the fence, why is that going to be all gravel? Well, they do that because they need to keep the area clean because they've got underground wires and stuff that grow, fiber optic and all that stuff that they have to work with there. And so it just keeps it in a pristine state so it's not overgrown and end up being an issue later. So if you come over here, here's the power lines right here. The original thought was they could come in here and then maybe put it in this location, but when you've got a 197-foot tower, it kind of puts it in a, that type of voltage creates a lot of issues with transmission and stuff, so you can get interference. And then you have to have a fall zone. So that fall zone has to be equivalent to, I think it's 120. It's more than that. It's the height of the tower. So anyways, the other areas in there are, I mean, you'd be tearing up an awful lot of wooded area and still be difficult to get to. So this was the least obtrusive to locate it in there. So that was the rationale. So anyways,
See the map of the other locations that we proposed.
Page 130.
let's see here. I'm gonna end up probably no, I don't have that up right now. Let me clear it away. Probably not going to be able, well, hold on. So
130, almost the last page, 7 pages from the end. Right. There we go.
I think the distance from, you've got residential all the way along the west side of the property. Let's see if I can go back to this one. Yeah. This is probably gonna be more trouble. So they've got one at the entrance of the gate, which is right here, entrance of the park, puts it right on the road.
Oh, it's a different,
Orientation.
yeah.
Can you see where we're at there? So another one's right here, one's right here at the end of the
Behind the hockey rink, and the other one's at the end of the trail going to the
and
west.
right where the playground is.
Just widening that trail, 12 foot. Little short section.
Does approving this land use today lock us in on a location? Within that park?
I would have to come back to planning, if something changed, I would have
Is
to
it
go back to
moves to a
planning
different spot
commission
within the park?
and. Because I think what they're approving is the green spot.
They did say, Nancy, in the planning commission that they approved the use. And that Mr. Beach asked, would anything change with the layout? And the provider said no. It would be the same, just in a different location. So if you read the minutes.
It sounded like the location was our decision.
Yeah, I think that's how the planning commission left it.
That's where it was.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I don't have a
So when
problem
I
with
read
that.
it, it sounded like the location was the board of trustees decision. That's the way I read it,
Planning
but
commission, your role in the site planning.
you guys would.
Yeah, they said their charge was to approve the use, yeah, the site plan.
So it doesn't have to go back to the planning commission if we decide we wanna
Lisa, do you read that?
approve a different.
Understand it that way or not?
To conditionally approve the proposed site plan.
So they had a public hearing, the site plan was submitted.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It does, I mean, I'm looking at the memo that Beth prepared, it does say that they recommended approval of the permit and conditional approval of the site plan, deferring to the board as to whether an alternative location could be considered.
And improvements such that should the board of trustees choose to alter the location, the applicant need not appear before the planning commission, and that'd be for the site plan. Yeah, and use, yeah.
So as I understand it, we have another step with approving the contract with Verizon,
Yes, there's an agreement.
an agreement.
Mhm. That's
So
pretty
in my
much-
mind, that's when we would lock down the location, when we approve that. And then today we would just approve the use of that parcel for this.
Generally, special land use approval attaches to a site plan
Okay.
so that you can lock it down.
Okay.
Well, let's do this.
But if the agreement,
Let's as a group, let's just look at it. What does,
The agreement would have attached to it where the location. And where
I
the,
guess if the agreement hasn't been finalized and
No.
accepted by the township board,
No.
why would you rezone now? Grant a special use permit? Is timing an issue?
yeah, they want to get moving.
well, they want to get moving, but they also could have got the agreement ready for today too. We talked about it, he didn't know if he could get. The information we needed back to us to get it on last Thursday packet. And he said it was no big, it was fine to wait till January for the agreement.
So we could do the special use on the same day that we approve the agreement.
But how do we determine which location is best? So can the company provide some insight onto visually what? Because there are neighbors all the way along
Well, I think the irony is that there's
west border.
other sites there that would be less costly in terms of driving into the property. It's a matter of. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think,
one of them is right on our playground. How would we?
no, it's actually in the woods.
Yeah, but isn't that the playground right there?
No. It's-
Yeah,
The playground's between the parking lot and the pathway. This is on the
Oh, so number two goes,
It's right over.
it's right over the play.
there's the place.
I mean, the falls.
Oh, but they would have to drive vehicle.
Yeah, well, they can repair that.
So the blue is the fall zones?
I think that's, the red circle is the fall zone. The blue is a path to the,
Yeah.
Oh, the blue's a path.
right. I mean, to me, sites 2 and 3 are pretty much the same distance from the neighborhood to the west, but it is further away from the senior housing. You know,
Mhm.
I don't have any problem with site 3.
So the fall zone is the hockey rink and the parking lot.
Yeah, we could chop it down and then have it crush the rest of the hockey rink and get that replaced.
Make it a twofer.
No, is there kind of a hill there on 3? No.
So. Not having been at this meeting and not having enough information here. Personally, are they saying that they're willing to take any of those sites?
The planning commission?
No, the
Oh, no, I think,
Verizon.
did you guys provide these for us?
Yeah, I drew it up.
Yeah, he drew it
You
up.
drew 'em up.
Yes.
Okay,
this is yours.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know if Verizon has already ruled these out.
I don't know that they've considered them.
Right,
I mean, they considered number 1
right.
originally, and it wasn't good. Or it didn't fit the,
no, it was where they originally put that was down in the hole where the
oh,
volleyball pit
oh, so
was.
back here. Right,
But then after they looked at it, it was the cell tower fall issue.
So if we postpone this, we have a month to talk with them and figure out if it's acceptable to them.
Or you can have them be here to talk to you. about
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I wonder why they're not here,
I think,
Did they go to the planning?
I'm gonna,
because there's no public hearing here.
Can I make a comment?
yeah,
And I took into consideration the elevations. Because I know the terrain back there. I tried not to put it anywhere there was more than maybe a 3-foot difference in elevation. So if you get more towards the north, you have some very hilly in there.
yeah, you're right on the
Obviously,
top,
it's small.
top edge there, but
So that was thought of those locations.
I think we should probably, I don't think they're opposed to saving money. They gotta put a pathway all the way back in, you know, that was just one of those things where
That was one of the thoughts. Basically, you can use a lot of the existing infrastructure without having to create wider pathways and whatever.
And then one last question, we haven't addressed the round versus the square. So the site being like 20% less.
Yeah,
what?
can I speak on that part? I learned something in the last meeting.
Okay.
You're leasing 100-foot square. So my perception was they were going to fence 100-foot square,
Yep,
built full of crushed gravel.
yep,
I believe that's not the case. They can make the fenced area smaller. As I look at some of the cell towers along Milford Road, going to Rose Center, it appears they're more like about 30 by 60 rectangular shape, but I don't know that for a fact.
well, I know the one up by the library it's 100-foot, it's the full, you know, they got the full.
You know, I took some pictures. You can go onto Google Satellite and see them better on Google Satellite.
I was just curious, you might have already mentioned it, but so is the elevation lower in 2 and 3 than in the site that they?
No, they're pretty,
So,
they're 2, 3, and 4 are all about the same elevation.
so do you think it would be less visible hopefully in site 2 and 3 than in site that they picked, or? As far as
From the neighborhood.
residential for the
Can you
neighbors?
repeat your question?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was curious as to whether 2 and 3 would be less visible to the property owner.
Well, it's perspective in your eyes. The further you go away with the tree line, you can go higher in height and your eyes aren't going to see it. So basically, in our subdivision, the further you go back, it's an hill. You're not going to see it. The closer you get to the west side of the subdivision, you're a higher elevation. So depending on what the aspect ratio of the trees are, the further you get it to the west or east, the trees basically block the line of sight to the top of the tower.
Oh, thank you.
The closer you come, you can see the top of the tower.
Well, I think the thing to do is we could,
And we also do need to get final MDNR approval too. They knew about it and they gave us some criteria.
right,
So I think we could table it to January. When's the next meeting? 12,
Well, we have to have their approval because the park was paid for with grant monies.
correct.
Got it.
but there's no sense getting approval until you've offered, you know,
Sure.
I mean, you have to have all this other stuff in play before
Yeah.
they.
So Tammy, is our next meeting, the second week, January 9th?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm gonna make the motion to table this until. Is table the right terminology? Postpone until the next board meeting on January 9th, 2023.
Support Louis.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Lewis.
Louis, yes.
Oh, wait, you know what?
Oh,
I did.
that's fine.
I did it in the wrong order. Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Howe,
Sure, all votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yeah.
Mr. Hamel,
Yes,
motion carries.
all right, so Steve, that was a good I said that was a good thing to do for
Helpful.
For visuals.
descriptive visual things.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
I'm kind of curious.
We're not against that, we're for the park improvements. We know the reason is just basically trying to. Part of moving to Highland was to live in the woods like we do, and obviously it's just, you can keep that way as much as possible.
Well, if we put it on your property, then everybody would benefit and you could get paid.
I'd like to see that, I mean, it's a good thing for the park.
Move that. Yeah, I didn't see that number 5 down there on the other side.
We can put it in my property.
So just out of curiosity, from
With
the
the-
perspective of you being the person who submitted this, how did the planning commission play with this?
I'm negotiating right now with them. And they came in. Well,
Kind of seen some, possibly. And, I mean, I don't want to speak out of school, but I heard another party say, we didn't consider that. It was off the record, but yeah.
Well, it kind of defers it. They're deferring it to the board because they didn't want to make the decision.
right, well, it's,
Yeah.
You were at the meeting.
I was. I wasn't extremely comfortable with it, but I think without any additional options, it was really hard to come up with any other solution than what they presented. As far as we didn't know the height or the other options that might be available, height of the property. So this was really good. It really gave us a lot more information, in my opinion. I think the members would have been a little bit more, let's look at some other options if they had them available, if they knew there were other options. Since Verizon was there, they pretty much said this is the way it's gotta be. So.
Well, they spent significant resources in
Right.
the engineering
Right.
involved in it.
right,
Exactly.
But, I mean, that's only the beginning of spending, so if we can cut their
Mhm.
traffic down and, maybe reduce some of the cost for access. Like, I think number 3 would probably be 3 or 4. I don't care which one, but.
we'll have to let Beth know tomorrow.
Okay. We'll see what we can do.
Understand, thank you for taking into consideration, that's all, ask for, appreciate it.
Thanks for your input.
Yeah, very helpful.
So I guess the recommendation is we move it another 500 feet west. Is that what it was?
You're mean.
Just kidding. All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. So this is an example that's worth your while come to the meeting. So input is important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for it.
We can only look out of our eyes, we have to have other people's eyes to be able to wake us up sometimes. So, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, the next items should be pretty easy.
Yeah, right. Should be.
Okay, item B, 9B is resolution 22-21 bank depositories.
So those are the banks that we'll be using in 2023.
I would move to approve resolution 22-21 to approve bank depositories for 2023.
Support, how? You moved and supported, vote please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Now votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Hamel,
Mr. Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is budget amendment for cemetery maintenance. You want to explain that one?
Too many trees fell down this year,
Not little ones either.
right? Including one that just fell down a couple weeks ago, so.
I would
That's what it
move,
is.
sorry.
Yeah,
I would move to approve the budget amendment for the cemetery maintenance as presented.
Support Lewis.
Moved and supported, vote please.
all right, Mr. Howe,
All votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Mr. Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item is budget amendment for the police station, sheriff station.
I would move to approve the budget amendment for the police building renovation expenses as presented.
Support Lewis.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Charles votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Mr. Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Next item is 9E. Was that it? 9? Did I miss one?
No, 90.
9E.
I move to approve the budget amendment for the capital expenses as presented.
Cooper support.
Yay.
Woohoo.
It moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Charles votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Mr. Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, and I think just before we finish up here, tomorrow is move-in day for the new Township Hall.
Woo-hoo. Today was moving day.
We had the movers moving box after box of files in. I think they had an easier move head going to the first time. Coming back, we unloaded all the file cabinets because we got a bunch of new file cabinets, so.
Wasn't bad.
I had nothing to do with any of that. So I thank all of the other partners there in the building for doing their due diligence and moving all their files. And so if you haven't been by the town hall, tomorrow it'll be open. Stop in and check it out. And we're going to try and put together something in the first of the year for the public, open house. So the public can come in and
Possibly at the June 9th board meeting or something.
June 9th.
January 9th. I'm on Jay.
I don't know.
Okay,
June
We'll
9th,
have to
fine.
talk about it.
we'll figure it out, but so the next board meeting will be held at the new town hall.
Darn it.
And
Oh,
it'll be
it's so
exciting to see.
I just turned
No,
across. It's great.
It's at least twice as far.
That's right.
Okay, on that note, then the meeting's adjourned.
For the record, I have 11 A's.